My name is Doug Cooper and I'm a retired school principal. Prior to retirement I was principal at Signet Area School, Signet Primary School for about 17 years. In 1967 I was a primary teacher, classroom teacher at Kingston Primary School, and the primary school was housed in the old building in Hutchins Street. At that stage the buildings were pretty much the same as they are now, with the brick section at the front and a couple of weatherboard buildings at the back. To put you in the picture, where the library in Kingston now stands was our school oval. We had a row of trees along the side of it. Where the police station now stands was the tennis courts, and opposite the tennis courts as they were then was a small weatherboard building which was the police station, which has since been demolished to allow for the council building to be constructed. Over on the corner of John Street and the Channel Highway was the Masonic Hall, which was a Besser Block building. And Channel Court as a shopping complex didn't exist. I remember Peter Rule had a weatherboard house in about what is the centre of the Channel Court complex now, with a long driveway coming down to meet Channel Highway, and there were a couple of shops along the highway, and that's about the status of it, I think. Everyone will recall it was the first day at school, but more importantly for Joe Priest, who was the new principal at school, it was his first day in a new school. And he didn't know any of the children, he didn't know the location of the district very much, and he didn't know the people. And what a day to start. The rest of the staff comprised Miss Lois Wayne, Mrs Powell, Mrs Scanlon, Mrs Huxtable, me and Joe won grade 6. There was a bushfire at Margate which was causing some consternation, and a lot of smoke was coming our way, and on a number of times during the morning Joe asked me what I thought about the danger of the bushfire, and somewhat, I guess in a cavalier fashion, I said, "Oh Joe, we don't have to worry about that. That's 5 miles away, it's down at Margate, that won't worry us." Well, within hours, the tops of the trees along the side of the oval just exploded into flames. There was nothing burning within cooey of those trees, but just the heat, and I assume the gas from the eucalyptus and such like, they just exploded in flames. And there were no signs of anything burning in the close proximity at all. We had a Learn to Swim campaign on with some of the senior students down at the beach, and I remember using my car to go down and ferry the students back to school. It was pitch dark by 2 o'clock and I had the headlights on, I could hardly see where we were going. When we got back to school, we housed all the students in the Hutchins Street building, the old brick building, thinking that that was the safest place. And we made them sit on the floor so they couldn't see what was happening outside, or the encroaching fire and whatever else, and would save any consternation and panic. And I thought I'd do the right thing and set up a film, so I set the film projector up and put a big film on. I went to show the children, and stupid me, there was no power, so that was a no-go at all. During that period, Joe and I stood over by the windows and discussed the safety of the children, which we considered to be paramount, and what was the main priority. And while we were looking out there, we saw the Masonic Hall on the corner of John Street just explode outwards, just as if a bomb went off inside it, and it absolutely exploded. And when that happened, we considered that not even the brick buildings were guaranteed safety, so we decided that the beach was the next place to go. I grabbed a shoebox full of money out of the filing cabinet. We didn't have a safe, but the money from book sales and levies was just stuffed in a shoebox in there. And I in turn stuffed it under the seat of my car and remembered it a couple of weeks later, and thank goodness it was still there. Also, as I left, I grabbed the tennis net which was hanging on the pegs in the cloakroom or the lobby, and I took that out and lengthened it out, and we had the older children take hold of the tennis net with one hand and the younger child with the other hand, and I tied a skipping rope on the front, and that's the way we led the children, 150 children, safely down to the beach in pitch darkness. And it was a wonderful experience for that. Not so much enjoyable, I don't mean wonderful, but those children were no problem at all. They were behaved remarkably well. I should tell you the story of Shane McKay's bicycle, nothing to do with Malcolm Bill's bicycle, but Shane McKay came to school in grade 5, the first day at school, with a brand new bicycle, bells and whistles, shiny chrome, lovely paintwork and all sorts of things, and wanted to take it with him down the beach. And Mrs Scanlon and among them one of the teachers remonstrated with him and said, "No, we've just got to get the children. The bike will be here, we'll leave it here with everything else." and he was frustrated and in tears and came back again and again, can't I take my bike? And in the finish, in utter frustration, Mrs. Scanlon turned around to him and said, bugger the bloody bike, just get in the line and get yourself ready to go down the beach. So the younger children always referred to the day of the bushfires, not of the day of the fire so much as the day Mrs. Scanlon swore. And I guess that's a little bit of folklore which will hang about too. I talked with Joe before we left as to whether we would shut the buildings up or close the windows, and in fact we just left all the doors and windows open of all the buildings because we thought if the Masonic Hall was locked up and that exploded out, what's the point in shutting up Weatherboard building? And fortunately nothing was burnt or damaged, and the school still stands to this day on the same site. We've been very fortunate, I think, with the children. When we got down the beach, they behaved remarkably well. We were unable to send children home through Leslie Vale or Summerlees Road, and we farmed about 60 children out that night to willing parents who came from all over the place down Kingston Beach and said, I can take so many children, and that was great. On the radio we heard that the children from the school were down the beach in tears. The only tears were the result of smoke in their eyes. That they were absolutely wonderful, and I feel that this is their story and it has a right to be recorded in the evacuation of so many children, such an orderly fashion, and without any great fuss, I guess, except for Shane's bicycle.